Hello everyone, I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. This time I'd like to talk about the history of hemp of my country, and I will talk about the history of the history of hemp of my country, but I don't talk about any I don't tell any detailed explanation, and nor I don't know anything about such details. And first of all, the use it's illegal to hold hemp or cannabis in this country. But taking or using hemp or cannabis is legal in this country. That's maybe in this point. This point is a kind of weird difference. And in the past, hemp was illegal. Well, hemp was legal in my country, which is Japan. And before the World War Two, before the end of World War Two, hemp was legal in my country. And traditionally, from the past, in the past, not so long ago. It's not like from the ancient time. But hundred year from hundred years ago, Japan has used traditionally Japanese people have used hemps, for example, for tools of religious stuff. And for example, there's a tool called shimenawa, which is created with hemp, and like which Japanese people have used hemps. And but why Japan began to prohibit hemps is because after Japan was beaten by, or Japan lost in World War II, as you know, which is what you know, and which is why Japan was occupied by the United States for a period, and during which and at that time the United States prohibited the use of hemp, or maybe the United States United States didn't specify the use of hemp. Maybe overall things about hemp were prohibited in the United States, but I don't know any details about the regulations or laws of United States. But at that time, United States banned hemps, which and Japan forced or asked no, United States asked or forced Japan to prohibit hemps, which is why from the end of the World War II, Japan began to prohibit hemps, or owning and creating hemps. So which is why in this country only permitted people, or only certain qualified people can create and hold or own and use hemps or cannabis. And using cannabis or using hemps is tolerated or permitted according to regulation. Like which the situation is like Japan has prohibited or bans the use things about hemps and cannabis, except for the use of hemp and cannabis, and which is forced by other countries, which is the United States of America. And the relationship is like once upon a time United States had forced Japan to prohibit hemp and cannabis. And while in this time, in present time, many states or some states of the United States began to allow or permit the use and owning and creating hemp and cannabis. Japan has still prohibited or banned hemp and cannabis. And which is because Japan is really a conservative country, which I think is bad for the citizens, Japanese citizens living in Japan. And I think it's necessary to worldwidely allow or permit the use or using and creating and owning hemps and cannabis, at least for medical use, which means the use of cannabis or the use of hemps are good for medical treatment in some cases, which is why I think it's necessary to allow, or it's necessary to accept hemp and cannabis into human societies or into the daily lives of human beings. And there must be some other conservative countries like my country, and those conservative countries do not allow or do not permit the use of hemp and cannabis, which I think is a bad point. Which I think is a bad point for those conservative countries, and I think it's necessary to let those conservative countries accept or permit such, or even decriminalize those things about hemp and cannabis, which I think is good for the citizens living in those conservative countries. And I hope this, in my case, I hope this country is going to allow or permits the use of hemp is allowed in this country legally, and owning. I hope that owning and creating hemp and cannabis are going to be permitted in this country legally, or decriminalized in this country, because I'm Japanese living in Japan. And I hope worldwide or all the countries accept the use of and things about hemp and cannabis. That's it. This is all the stuff I'd like to tell you. Thank you very much for listening. See you.